It is the story of a young worker at a nursing home in Cambridge who falls in love with a student, Iris Bellwether, one day when he's wandering by King's College Chapel. And that night he hears the organ music of who turns out to be Iris's brother, Eden Bellwether. And Eden is what you would call a musical prodigy. He's the organ scholar at King's College, and he goes on throughout the course of the book to claim to be able to use music and to harness its powers for all kinds of effects, including to heal people. So it has elements of romance, it has elements of mystery and suspense, but overall I would say it's a literary mystery with an intellectual pulse. Yes, it's a really wonderful honor to be given this award in France, and I feel very humbled by it. The book has been out for a few years now, actually, in different parts of the world, and it's been received well. It's in the UK. It was shortlisted for some prizes and on long list for prizes. It was published in the United States and was very well received by a large bookseller over there, Barnes and Noble, and it's done pretty well. But I think this is the most rewarding time for the book right now. Seeing the way that French readers have really taken to the story and have connected with it, and to be given this award by so many booksellers and readers from Fnac is a real privilege, and I'm incredibly proud to be here right now. Definitely Oscar is most like me. Eden is quite an eccentric chap, and I wouldn't necessarily want to be like him. There are parts of him which I am drawn to, but he's very eccentric. Oscar, his view of the world, his view of Cambridge in the book is quite reflective of my own, particularly at the time I was writing this. So I wasn't a student at Cambridge myself, but I moved there a few years ago and lived there for a number of years, actually, the duration of time it took me to write the novel. And I wanted, in some way, to reflect how I felt about being a non-student in this very it's sort of overwhelmingly historical, academic city. Everywhere you walk, you feel very aware of just the scale of the history, the scale of scholarship that's gone on before you. So that's something that is both admirable and also a little daunting for somebody who isn't necessarily a part of it. There's a part of what comes with that is a sense of privilege and elitism, and which feeds into this book. So there are definite parts of me in Oscar, but most of my writing and really most of the characters in this book were born of pure imagination. I don't really know where they came from. They just emerged from my strange brain. I was aware that it was going to be entering into a tradition of campus novels, and it's kind of unavoidable for a story like this, which is set in Cambridge. So I was aware of that. What I hoped was that I was writing a story which would take maybe some of the familiar elements of a campus novel and make them, and sort of refresh them and come at them from a different viewpoint which readers maybe hadn't experienced before. So Oscar is not a student, he's a worker in a nursing home. So it's very much his viewpoint which drives the novel. He interacts with students within the colleges who have their own sort of eccentricities, and he's sort of welcomed into their world in a partial way, and at the same time he's sort of welcoming these institutionalized Cambridge students into his larger, perhaps more real world. So, yes, it's definitely a campus novel, but actually most of the major action of the book takes place outside of the Cambridge campus. So it sort of has elements which I think transcend the campus that it takes place on. But I definitely wanted to write a book which had a very claustrophobic, slightly gothic, slightly ageless atmosphere, and that was particularly important to me, was to convey a sense of the darkness of Cambridge at night and what it's like when it rains and how that affects your psyche as a person there. Well, I hope there are elements which are universal, which have universal appeal. As I said, at heart, it's a love story. So a central part of the book is the burgeoning relationship between Oscar and Iris. So there is that. But equally, I think what I've heard most, maybe from readers around the world, is what happens in the book is there's a struggle between faith and doubt. So there is a sort of a scientific, rational explanation for things, and there is a slightly spiritual, metaphysical explanation for things. And what Eden claims to be able to do sort of falls in between these two stools. So I think people want something to believe in that isn't sometimes the hard-line rationalism of science. I think people like to think that it might be possible for miracles to happen, and I think that's what the story is sort of framed around. So probably if people are looking for a thread of hope in something, as the character Dr. Crest is in this book, then that might have some universal appeal. And I hope that French readers find it interesting.